us?
We screwed up. Mark screwed up.
What do you mean we?
Yeah.
It was all my fault, guys.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it was all this
I'll
guy.
take the blame.
Absolutely this guy.
And right now we only have people sitting on the couch that have an M name.
Right,
So
correct.
Yeah.
just so you know,
Right.
it's
And we've
not
got
Mark,
another-
Matthew, Luke, and John.
Right.
we have another M coming in here. Too.
Right. Yeah, let's bring
You're welcome to be on the couch because you have an M name.
Yes, that's correct.
And right now we're only doing M people.
We
Right.
we kicked Tank out so that we could bring in another M.
Right.
Our man Mo, who runs the place.
Right?
Yeah.
Mighty Mo.
Or does it run you?
Yeah. Which one is it?
It depends on the day.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first question I have is a question for both of you, and it's because my love of the Ninja Turtles. Who's your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Go ahead.
Michelangelo.
My man.
I should have gone first.
We can make it a clean sweep.
They
'cause
are
he's
all
mine.
Renaissance painters.
Right.
So they, you had me back then because I already wanted to be an artist. But
Mhm.
I mean, come on, it's Michelangelo.
I mean, it's pretty clearly Michelangelo.
See, we didn't even know that.
Donatello.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's cool, I guess.
So I can remember reading the black and white Eastman and Laird, that was self-published with like $2,000 that they borrowed from their parents and turned it into the biggest marketing, and
Mhm.
success story of the 80s. I mean, I was a big arcade kid, spent my free time there, and I can remember playing
That was a great 4-player game.
every
Oh,
single
so awesome.
every
Yeah.
single game that came down the pipe.
In fact,
Yeah.
there was only one better 4-player game.
Avengers.
No.
Oh,
this is
wait.
unarguable.
Oh, wait. So
The Simpsons?
no,
That was a
way,
good
way before.
You get out of my shop.
Wait.
Goddamn millennials. Goldeneye.
Oh,
On the
Goldeneye
N64.
was
Oh,
good.
N64
Yeah.
Goldeneye is
Four-player
classic.
In history.
Yeah.
That was a
I'll
good
die on that hill.
Yeah. I don't think you have to die there. I think you're just right.
No Odd Job and no Jaws.
Right.
Because Jaws' hitbox was huge.
And I
Crouch and
this
you couldn't
big.
hit it.
Just whack you.
Yeah. So we actually, this has nothing to do with your art, but it's such a good core memory. We had one of those, 60-inch TVs that weighed 952 pounds. And a couple of my friends were early campers. And they would just sit there and look at your quarter of the screen. And you'd have to slap them in the head.
Screen peekers.
You cheating sons of bitches. So I took a
I didn't realize that
refrigerator
was a
box.
thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's 100%
Oh, yeah.
a
Screen
thing.
peeking.
So I took a refrigerator box and I made a big X out of it. And we taped that to the TV. So you had your quadrant. And that was it. Stay in
Mhm.
your corner.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they'd sit in the little tunnels and they'd just wait for you to run by, but watching
Right.
you on their
Yep.
screen.
Get him?
Nice.
Oh, Daniel-san.
Oh.
Next time use chopsticks.
So I feel bad because the game that was one of my biggest loves and I put many quarters into, the name of it's actually escaping me. But it was the Dungeons and Dragons game where you had the elf is about to die.
Gauntlet.
Gauntlet.
Thank you.
Yes. Warrior.
So, is
Needs
Warrior
food
needs
badly.
badly.
Yeah, right.
Valkyrie is hot. Okay,
Gonk.
it didn't actually say that.
Yeah.
But we
We all
would
thought it.
we would make our own.
We used to play
title
that
on-
at Pizza Hut.
Oh yeah.
And the guy that owned, this was in a very small town on the western slope, and the guy that did the newspaper machines would come in and just drop quarters on the game, and the kids that were there would just sit there and play with him.
how cool.
It was
Oh, that's
the
awesome.
greatest shit because we were all poor.
Well,
you know,
'cause
so
one of
that
the-
guy just here.
So
Mhm.
Gauntlet was the first game. I'm pretty sure that you could put a quarter into sort of like the idea of having life, right?
You could
like
buy back
based
in.
on yes, you could
Yep.
buy back in,
Mhm.
and no other game did that.
Yeah, you
like you
couldn't
could start
continue.
over
Right.
and be like, oh, it's Omega Racing or whatever else you were playing,
Right.
Dig Dug. You just started
Yeah.
over, but you were just like, oh, I have $5, I can just keep playing,
Right.
and it is a money eater.
Oh,
Well,
for sure. I know that for a fact. It's happened to me
It was
in
the
Glenwood
first game that
Springs.
talked shit too.
Oh, yeah.
Elf shot the potion. Shut up!
Yeah,
I
but
know.
Warrior
You're
needs
diving me
food
out,
badly.
bro.
It always.
And
That's
what-
something I
what
actually
if you
say
ate
when I'm
food-
hungry
when
sometimes.
you
Like
ate
I'm bumping
food
around the
and you didn't
house.
eat it was
yes,
like
Mark needs food badly.
Yeah.
Yes.
the elf took the food. And you didn't eat it.
Well, and you could just do everything else among your friends and be like, Elf is a klutz and has no dexterity. But if you said it in that way, everyone knew what you were
Right,
referencing. Because you're like, yes, but the dwarf is an a-hole. You're like, did you just call me a dwarf?
No, I called you an a-hole.
Exactly.
Don't bury the lead. That's what we're talking about right now.
God, I derailed this whole conversation, didn't I?
That's quite all
Sounds
right.
all right. That's what happens.
It's a nerd podcast. This is
Right, but this is,
absolutely.
Yeah.
this is about you.
We're geeking out completely.
No, we've already talked enough about me. But what else do you want to talk about me?
I do want to say this while we have you here and we have the podcast going. It is such an absolute, and this is going to sound so cheeseball, but I mean it. It is such an absolute honor to have your art here.
Oh, thank you.
You don't need me. You are a successful artist. And the fact that you took the chance on me to put your art in here and to get me cleared by LucasArts and Thomas Kincaid Galleries and fought for us to be able to carry your art honestly means the world to me. Thank
I
you.
appreciate it. Well,
And
you're very
it's-
good at selling it too.
It's
I love it.
not hard.
I love it when I get message from him. He's like, I need this and this and this because I just sold them all. I'm like, oh,
I mean,
okay.
it's like selling ice water in the desert. You've seen his art.
Mhm.
It's rad.
Good.
That's a
Yeah,
nice
it's really
compliment.
good.
I've never heard that. I like it. though.
Finding the price point that the person that I'm talking to can afford. That's it.
Right.
You know? And with Monty's art, there's no bullshit attached to it. I have a price sheet. His art is this much for this size print, this much for this size print, this
Yeah.
much,
You
this
wanna-
much if it's framed.
Somebody's like,
You know?
I can't afford that one. And you're like, look, we have a version right here that's $40. Like,
So
you know,
the big
it's-
tombstone in the front window, that
Mhm.
costs $5,500 in that frame. That is one of the most bitchin' things you're ever going to see in your life. It's not in everybody's budget, and we can respect that.
Mhm.
My goal with this business was to make sure that art stayed accessible to everyone.
And you've
Because
done
I
that.
think that money being the gatekeeper to art is complete horseshit. Everybody deserves to have art. I don't care if you're working over there at H&M for $13 an hour and live in a crappy 400 square foot studio apartment. You deserve to come home to something that makes you feel something. And that's what art is supposed to do.
Yep.
And Monty touched on this earlier. Every single person in here has their own lane. Everything is different. So we have something for just about everybody. And we both have a saying that it takes as much water to float one ship as it does 20. So
All
Monty's-
ships rise together.
Monty's kind of my water here, you know, because people see his big Star Wars piece, the big Tombstone piece, and they come in, but then they get to experience the art of 26 other local artists,
Right.
You know, and he didn't have to do that, but that just speaks to the
Right.
quality of man he is. You know, I mean, you can see he's a quality artist. I know a lot of artists. Some of them are kind of dickbags. You know?
Well, and most of them are really bad business people.
Horrible. Universal rule, guys.
Right.
If you're good at art, it's I don't know what the word I want is, but it's
Can't
there's
manage
a
money.
there's a relationship to your
usually-
art is this
it's
good,
usually-
well, you're this shitty at sales.
It's usually
Mm.
it's usually musicians
Yeah.
and artists.
Yeah.
yeah.
They're
It's the
like,
crazy hot scale.
Yes. It's the Barney crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, if she's
fortunately,
this
I've
hot, she could
melded
be
the
this
two
crazy.
where I'm
Right.
pretty good at marketing and
Mhm.
sales and things like that. But I work hard to be as
Imagine-
best artist I could be.
Imagine thinking that selling amazing Star Wars art was hard.
Well, I try to make it easy.
I mean,
And actually, one of the things that I'm very happy that the licensee for The Mandalorian, which is Thomas Kincaid Studios, is that I was afraid that they were only going to have their premium prints, and so. And that's obviously it's not my department,
Mhm.
and so I was like, oh my gosh, these prints are going to cost $1,000 because they're in a beautiful frame and they're hand embellished and all this kind of thing, and they're wonderful print quality, and that all costs money. And so it's awesome to have 19 different Star Wars pieces in here that start at $40-$50.
Mhm.
And they're signed and they're official prints and they come with a certificate of authenticity. You can then go to a canvas print for under $100. And, for people who are like, I need that special thing for my Star Wars room, they can get bigger and better, but they can also get a puzzle for
$15.
$15 and
Still
it's
signed by Monty.
Right.
Now, if you go to Walmart, you can get the same puzzle for $15, but it won't be signed.
And Walmart doesn't need your money. When you shop
right.
here,
Right.
Yeah.
Shop
you're
local.
You are
you're
shopping
helping support a local business.
small business.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, the pieces that we currently have are all awesome. It's undeniable. But the new piece coming out is hands down my favorite, and I'm going to need someone to drive the car while I rob the bank so I can get the original. It's
It's called In Good Hands.
it's Luke with R2 holding Grogu as they're leaving.
Right before the
That's
end of season
It's
2.
beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. That green lightsaber popping in that episode
had to
is
know.
by
He's coming out of
far
the smoke.
Oh my God.
right, and
one
it's
of the
I'm
geekiest
watching it.
moments of my life.
We're
And
yelling
I'm
at
watching
each
it with
other.
my son. So my son's a comic. Both my kids are comic book nerds. So 24 and 20.
I would hope
my,
so.
My youngest, we're just watching it because he's home, and it was before it was over the summer, whenever it came out, and we're watching it. We're just enthralled because it's the last episode. We've been watching it the whole time, and as soon as that green lightsaber popped,
Well, I think you saw the cape first.
Yeah.
you
did see
saw the cape, and you
And-
kind of
Yeah,
thought
but still
maybe,
a
right?
shadow,
It
though.
could
But
be.
that was the beauty of it. The cape you went.
Yeah,
What?
could
Yeah,
be.
one X-wing. There's a cape, but that green lightsaber
then
popped, and
a
it's like
glove.
11 o'clock at night. My wife is asleep, and both of us jumped off of the thing we were sitting on, and we're
Was it
shouting,
a Jew back?
"It's green! It's green!" And my wife comes to, "What are you guys doing?" And I'm like, "You don't understand. It's green."
It's Luke
Luke
Skywalker.
We were having a
Skywalker.
bit of a watch party, and you would have thought that
Oh,
the
yeah.
actual Holy Grail had just been exposed.
Yeah,
Right.
We
it's one of the
lost our
great
shit,
moments.
dude. Because you see the cape, you see the glove, you see the lightsaber.
Mhm.
You're like, they
They
did.
did.
How did they do
they?
this?
Did
Yes.
they?
Yeah,
Did they?
they
And
did
then
it.
that age regression, is that what that's called?
Mhm.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was
They
really
did an
good.
amazing
That
job.
stuff used to be so janky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting
You know,
really good at it.
And I will tell you right now,
I'm hoping they do it on me.
as a shop that
Same.
does not
This whole
sell
couch.
AI art at all, I have very strong feelings about that.
Mhm.
That kind of AI art, I'm a bit okay with, because you're not putting an actual artist out of business.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
Because you can't draw that.
Yeah, it's
Right,
video
right.
production.
You know,
Mhm.
So there's applications that
Right.
it makes
Well,
sense.
and I had to use their reference material so that I could draw Luke from the episode. But I also was referencing him from the end of Return of the Jedi.
Okay.
Because I was like, going back and kind of looking and saying, okay, this is what they're pulling from. And I needed to find a happy medium of like what I wanted to paint. And, like I said, not everything people will think, oh, that's just a simple screen grab. And I can say, well, here's 16 things that are different about it, but they're all really subtle. So you probably won't notice.
Mhm.
But that was a very cool moment for me. And when I was growing up, people said, who's your favorite character? I said, R2-D2. Like he was my guy. It was my favorite action figure. And as a, 12-year-old, I can remember actually telling my mom, if some reason I die young, and you've got to bury me, I want you to bury me with my R2 action figure. And she was like, what 12-year-old says that or thinks of things like that? And I'm like, I just needed you to know.
Right.
Like, that's how deep my nerddom went.
Mhm.
The beauty of R2 for me was as I got older and understood that those sounds, he was talking shit.
Oh yeah. Those are
As a
all
kid,
swear
I
words.
didn't always understand that. But as I got older, and I was like, oh, R2's cussing folks out.
Oh yeah.
And I love that.
He speaks a massive jive.
And
Yeah,
C3PO
he
was
does.
like, oh,
You speak
R2.
Cut me some slack, Jack.
Shit that won't ever get made again for $800.
You're
Correct. We're up against it, but one of the things I did want to touch on, and you had mentioned it, you've got 27 artists here,
I do.
right? So one of the cool things about the store, You Deserve Art, Southwest Plaza, right next to Dick's, second floor, come see it. You got to come check it out. If you sit here or you walk around and you look, there are 27 different voices,
Mhm.
from the pottery behind us, right? And the Western stuff and the Star Wars stuff. And you got Tombstone over there, and you've got some more abstract and some cool watercolors. I mean, it's just, there's 27 different voices that you're allowing to express here. And to provide that in a format and in a forum where it's affordable, I think is super important. And thank you to providing that. And
Well, thank you for being here. I would be remiss without saying this. Most of my artists, half of my artists that I currently have came with me from my original location in Aspen Grove. And why I opened that location was a place to sell my photography. But then I reached out to the LGBTQ community that I'm part of. And I said, hey guys, we can have a spot that's for us and safe for us.
Yeah.
And the response was overwhelming. And so aside from Monty, everybody in here is kind of a fringe player. Schizophrenic, suicide survivors, non-binary. Amanda Blackwood was sex trafficked by 3 different men across the globe.
Mm.
So everybody in here has a story. And that story is just as important as the art, and to shine on that story. Stephen Pate was a coal miner. His training was Bob Ross. He was sitting up with pain at 3 a.m. one night, saw a Bob Ross episode, and went, wow, that looks fun. And now every single day since I've started carrying his work, we've sold a piece. He's never really had that kind of success. And I don't even carry my stuff anymore because to put my stuff on the wall takes somebody else's down. And this is going to sound cornball as hell, but I get so much more pleasure selling somebody's art than my own. You know, cool, I sold my art. But getting to call someone who's, you know, not felt very good about themselves or their art, you know, felt very marginalized, unheard, unseen, and being able to take a picture of somebody that they resonated with that person's art and send it to them has been the single most rewarding thing of this business.
That is badass.
Yeah.
And it was something that I needed. I was a firefighter. I'm a helper. And so to be able to gas these artists up, because they're all awesome, you know, I love them all. Every single person in here, I would go to the wall for. And to be able to help them come to that realization that they're worthy, their art is worthy, and their art is important because it speaks to people has been awesome. And I love it. And again, having Monty in here gets so many more eyes because people, how much is that tombstone? And then they walk around. Oh my God, that Star Wars piece is amazing because there's a big ass, you know, original Star Wars art that's hand airbrushed. Who has that kind of skill? And it's, you know, 4 foot by 5 foot. It's
It's big.
freaking
Massive.
gargantuan.
Yeah.
You know, there is not a man on this planet who's gonna say that's not big enough.
Look at the size of his head. It's huge.
It's huge. And people come in for that, but then they wander through and they see other stuff because it's not on everybody's affordability list, you know. But we get eyes on other people, and I love that.
It's such a cool location too. You know, there's all the stuff down on Santa Fe you were talking about, or in New Mexico, and you know other places. And they're in these art galleries, and it feels very pretentious. And you're right next to a Kate Jeweler and a Forever 21.
We're right in between dicks and diamonds.
Yeah, every girl's dream.
Follow your wife.
Well done.
She'll find the place.
You know, and I will say, you know, as artists and things like that, like we have to put up with a lot of rejection, right? So when you create something, you're especially like in the world of social media and things like that, it doesn't matter how good you are. I could post my Yellowstone art in a Yellowstone group, and there might be 100 people who absolutely love it, but there's going to be 3 people who are just
They
a-holes.
talk so
And they're
much shit.
vocal.
And they're like, oh, I could draw
They're
better
vocal.
than that. That
Right.
doesn't look like Rip, or that doesn't look like Beth, or
And
whatever.
you're like, have you watched the show?
And
Right.
and who cares?
Right.
Even if they're, most of the time they're, let's face it, they're all full of crap. But like that was your one thing you needed to say, rather than just building somebody up, or rather than say, oh, I wish my nephew could draw like
It
that. Or
takes just as many keystrokes to say something nice.
yeah,
Sure.
Not
but
be an
but
asshole.
but
Right.
all they do is they troll people and put people
Yeah.
down. And so it's nice when people can have their art on display. And when you sell a piece of art, it's the ultimate reward. You feel vindicated for what you've created and the time you've put into it. So I don't care if Mo sells a $40 item or a $400 item or $4,000 item. It makes me happy every time. I still get a charge out of that. And I know that every artist in here shares that.
Because that $40 might be $4,000 to the person who bought it.
Absolutely.
You know?
Right.
'Cause- and,
It's like
and
the old
again,
money
that's
lender.
the goal. You
You
know,
know?
is to make sure that people can get that art. And maybe that $40 is a big spend for them, but they decided that your piece of art was where they wanted to spend that $40.
Yeah, the old Bible story, the person who gives away his last 10 cents. That
Mhm.
was everything he had.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter if the other guy's like, I gave you old mountains of gold. And you're like, yeah, but you have plenty. But the reason why I brought that up about the rejection part is I have never been accepted to the Cherry Creek Arts Festival, right? I've applied probably 3 or 4 times,
Mhm.
right? And I got the application sent to me this year. And I was like, you know what? I'm not giving you my $40 to apply to your art show when I sell plenty of art and I can connect with people. They can come right here in the Denver area and they can buy my art 360 days a year.
63.
63. A lot. Too many. I feel for Mo because this is a passion project for him and this location. And he has to be here, run, snow, shine, potty breaks, not having food, all that kind of thing. And he's here and he's an artist advocate. And so I just think it's a great opportunity. And if there are people who are listening or watching this and, you're afraid to put yourself out there, don't be, because people like me get rejection every day, even though you might look and go, oh, well, he's this successful artist that is 30 years of accumulation of 70-hour weeks. But there's still lots and lots of failures. I tell people all the time, I'm not showing you the bad drawings. I'm showing you the best things that I've ever created. And there's lots of stuff you will never see. You won't see the, weird shaped sculptures and the, a bad sketch that has a really horrible hand, because I erased the really horrible hand and it might have taken me 3 times to draw it to where it went like, oh, okay, that doesn't look like, somebody with 40 pounds of arthritis, because you're like, oh, okay.
Elephantitis.
Right. And I am not a talented artist. I'm a skilled artist. So I have to learn. I have to learn all the things that I'm doing. And I think somebody who's truly talented can do that stuff all the time, because it's like a magic. It's like magic that's inside of them. But I don't show people that. I show people learn skills, right? And so that's my own personal take on it. And people can argue with me all they want. It's coming from my point of view. I know that I struggle every day with creating art. The better I get, the less I struggle and the more I learn and know. But to outside people who think that art is all magic, they're just going to think I got more magical, right? And it's not. I got more skills. But I try to take workshops from other artists. Once or twice a year, I will go to another artist and pay them for a week of workshop and study with them. And I learn their techniques. And then people go, oh my gosh, you got more magical. No, I didn't. I just learned from like one of the best wildlife watercolors in the world. Like, that's why I paid them money to learn their techniques. It's not magic, it's learning. I have a degree in it. I have, 10, 50,000 hours in art.
I think that touches on a really important point. People, and it's not necessarily generational, but people want that instant gratification. They want to be able to sit down and draw it. And I get a lot of students that come in here and they want to talk about art, and I want to get them, sparked with art and to realize that art can be a career, because art is consumed every day by people. You can make your living doing this, but you have to practice. That art, that's a muscle, and you have to build it. You have to work out. And
I'm trying to bolster it.
Muscle
26-inch pythons.
Muscle vanity over the age of 50 is unfortunately.
I almost sold him the original to Midnight Run. He did not buy it, but he inquired about the price on it at Cowboy Christmas last
Bring
year.
out your wallet.
I was excited. He's like, do you sell your originals? I'm like, yes, this one here happens to be, X price. And he's like, oh, okay. I gave him an art book. We took a picture. He moved on. But about 2 hours later, I sold it to some other folks.
We'll see. There you go.
Yes.
So
And it was
one of the
biggest
cool
sales of my
things
career.
about having Monty in here is that he's made himself so approachable to fans. So like, we had our grand opening party and Monty just sat over there. He was going to do some airbrushing. He didn't even get a chance to, because people were buying Mandalorian art and Monty was doing
Remarks.
remarks.
Okay.
So
he's
remark,
drawing.
REMARQUE, and it means small sketch.
Okay.
So he was just doing
You put a
artwork
little
on
sketch
people's
on the
artwork.
back.
And Instagram blew up with people posting, oh my God, I cannot believe. And it takes, 5 minutes out of his day. But it absolutely made people's
Well, then they get
months.
an original sketch as well as their print. And it didn't matter if it was $40 print, $90 print.
He did one on the back of Darth Vader. One of my artists bought a big Darth Vader print. And the piece of art he put on the back of that made it a very confusing present on how to hang.
Oh. I'm like, well, you got to hang it with the art out. And then when people come over, you go, check this out.
One peek.
That's all you get.
Quick look.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's what we got going on around here. And, I mean, you just never know when you come down here and there's an artist making art.
Well, and the cool part about
Signing
this
art.
location too is the amount of art that's rotating and
Mhm.
changing. So he might sell 5 or 10 pieces in a day, small to large, prints, whatever.
New stuff comes in.
And then there's new stuff. He had was it Bev who was painting the other night when I stopped in? She was working live right at the front of the store. And so, new pieces that are being created rather than saying, somebody coming and going, oh, I've seen all this art. These are the same
Because,
3
again,
people
it's
you
not a
always
gallery.
carry.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
I'm not cycling artists through. We're not doing shows. This is a place for artists to sell their art and make money. Because
But also
deserve to be
work
paid.
live. So,
Mhm.
you don't know. When I get back from one of the events I have to go do down in Arizona, when I come back, we'll do some live events where I come in and I, airbrush or draw or paint or whatever I'm working on. If it's something I'm allowed to show, then yeah, we'll come in, set up an easel, and, people can come in and do that. And I don't have a location I can do that in Denver. So it's really cool to
And
have that.
One of my artists up there, he goes by the name Skate Punk. He's a local street artist. He'll come in here and paint live, and he has a ridiculous following. It's crazy to me how many people really dig his stuff. But it's plywood that he finds. It's spray paint. I mean, he's a tagger.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I saw his van in the parking lot. You could tell it
There's
was
no
his.
way you can miss it.
Now, my trailer, on the other hand, has Tombstone on the back, and there's no way you could miss
Right.
that either.
Yeah,
Because it says justice is coming and hell's
I
coming
mean, they're
with
two
me.
very different art forms.
Sure. Again, 2 different voices, right?
But yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
All art is valid, you know?
Mhm.
I mean, if it creates a feeling
It
and an
speaks to you.
emotion in you, that's all that matters.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
You know? So that's what I try to do, is get these voices out so they can be heard and people
Awesome.
can feel it and
We love it.
take it home.
One of the biggest things that we touch on, we don't touch on it much on the Nerd podcast, but on our sports podcast, is the mental health thing. And so that side of
Mhm.
it is really important.
Well, and so many of these artists in here started the art as a way for mental therapy.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very cathartic.
Mhm.
And Amanda's a perfect example. She started painting a year and a half ago. And I have one of her first pieces and a piece she just brought me. And watching that metamorphosis and her voice change. And she's an author. And now she's doing the art for her book covers, which is
Nice.
awesome.
That's
You know?
awesome.
And she bought one of my pieces.
She did. She got your ghostwriter.
Yep.
That's
Before
awesome.
Nicolas Cage shit on the entire franchise. Talking to you, Nick.
I mean, he does that.
Well, because I painted the
Cage.
old Ghost Rider, I did the Western Ghost Rider,
Yeah,
Right.
it looked
the
awesome.
rider.
With one of his handmade
Right.
custom frames.
Yep,
Of course.
with burnt edges and skulls
Dude, it
on
was
it,
so
spikes,
awesome.
and
So
awesome.
Well, I know you have to get out of here.
Yeah.
We're up against it. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for
thanks,
hosting
welcome.
us one. Thank you for spending some time with us.
you
right?
bet.
And
My pleasure.
to all the nerds and goons out there, you deserve art. Southwest Plaza, 2nd floor next to Dick's. Can't miss it. You've got to stop in and check it out.
If the mall is open, we're open.
Yep, the mall's open. We're open.
He says that with a heavy heart.
There's a little bit of
Yeah.
Bring sugar-free Red Bulls or snacks to get a discount on all of Monty's art.
Hey,
Hey, there you go.
I would've said peanut butter
Red Bull,
cups,
so I
but-
know what that's like.
I'll tell you this. There are definitely times, like I did a discount for a young lady today. She's 16. She wanted a piece of art. She was a few dollars short. So I just cut down the price of the art, but I will pay the artist the same amount of money as had it sold at full price. I take that out of my commission.
Yeah, he doesn't
Which
do
is-
that with me.
I don't have to discount your art.
Ooh, thank you.
But I will
I'm
now.
getting uncomfortable now.
This is getting
No,
weird.
because I think that the artists deserve to be paid, and I
Mhm.
charge the lowest commission of any place in the Denver metro area for
Oh,
sure.
for sure.
And because the artists deserve to have that money, but I am willing to take a few bucks out of my pocket to make sure that somebody gets a piece of art that they love.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter to me.
Right.
You know, 5, 10, 20, $100 isn't going to make or break me,
Sure.
you know, but if I can get art in the hands of people that love it, that's what we're here for.
Right.
Come on down to Littleton, Colorado. You deserve
Yep.
art.
Absolutely.
Really appreciate it.
This
Monty,
is the
Mo.
way.
There it was.
There it is.
There it is.
In fact, the way is 470 to Bowles,
Yep.
Wadsworth.
Yep.
Yeah, right.
Yep. Wadsworth, hang a left. Yep. That's how it came in.
285 to
Come in
Wadsworth.
by Cheesecake Factory or Dick's.
Right.
Or come in through over by Bad Daddy's Burger Bar and bring me some chicken strips because Bad Daddy's Burger Bar has the best chicken strips.
Okay.
All
Next
right.
time I
Good to
swing
know.
through.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm
that
on.
comes with the fat guy guarantee. There's two things you can always rely on from a fat guy: will never steer you wrong about food,
Mm-hmm.
and will never ask to borrow your running shoes.
That's correct.
These
Can
are-
confirm. Can
these are
confirm.
facts.
That's
You
Big
want to borrow my
facts.
shoes?
I mean, look at all that tread. You ain't running either.
These are newish.
Mine too.
Flat feet.
Right. So
Money
same.
green.
I was going to say Yoda, but okay.
Well, I'm more likely to see Yoda than money.
And with that,
Yeah.
On that note, we will kill the
Thank
cast.
you all for watching.
Yeah. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate it. For Tank back there has rejoined the guest. Thank
Yes,
you, Tank.
absolutely.
Yep. For Golden Goon, my brother Mark, who's also an idiot. My name's Matt. Of course, we've been spending this whole time with Mo and Monty, and a lot of time
Mo
with
and
Monty.
Monty.
Yep.
Mo and Monty.
Yep. Thank you so
Which
much.
is
for
like Mo
joining us.
Money, but different.
Right.
And if you need more art, this is where you come.
There you go. Make
Boom.
sure you come check it out. This has been Nerds That Know. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you next time. See ya.
Bruh.